Make sure it says we are.
Hi!
Hello, welcome. The first time around it didn't actually take because it said our wireless connection was so bad, which I don't know why that's the case. Now we're live. That's what my phone just told me. So, talking tonight about everyday ways to build intimacy with your spouse. This is quote-unquote love month here in the month of February. And so we are talking about marriage, connecting with each other.
All month long.
So, the cool part that we want to first talk about is the launch of the podcast.
So fun.
So it actually was some of the basis for why we're talking about what we are tonight, because our guests in our podcast that we launched yesterday were Eric and Kay Geiger. Eric is the vice president of Lifeway. His wife Kay is a full-time school teacher. He's also a pastor. So they have a lot of both working parents.
They're so great.
And we have a lot of fun with them.
Listen to the podcast yet. That's the second one. We actually posted 2 this week. One's an introduction. It was just us like doing our introduction. And the second one was with Eric and Kay. And they are awesome. Like truly awesome.
It was so
fun.
We
loved it. We loved it.
We really think we left there taking a ton of notes
and
some things that we've applied in our marriage. And we're going to highlight some of those tonight, but we're not going to give you all of them because obviously we want you to listen to the podcast. So go to iTunes and we'll put the link to the podcast here in this Facebook Live episode tonight so that you guys can link to that. So tonight we're going to talk about that. Do you have, so there's Donna from Arkansas. Tell us where you're from tonight. And also tell us if you have Valentine's Day plans.
Do we?
We do, sort of. We just don't have the reservations made yet.
You know that it's
I'm just reminding our friends that I'm reminding our friends and my brother-in-law who just came on, Luke, that Valentine's Day is in like 12 days and we better be up in the ante a little bit.
Yep.
That's all. So,
that's a good point.
So what are your plans for Valentine's Day?
I just thought Karen asked, what's the name of the podcast? It's the Dr. Josh and Christy podcast. Fairly self-explanatory.
Yeah.
We were real creative with that name.
Yeah. Helping families to live, love, and lead well.
Hi, Kelly.
So, Kelly from South Mississippi. So tonight, let's just dive in and talk about a couple of ways that we both...
You made notes.
Everyday
I'm
intimacy.
not prepared like you're prepared.
I'm a note taker, so these are my notes for tonight, just if we can get to all of them.
Hi, Ryan.
So what we're going to talk about, I want to start with this, okay? Because I think this is really important. Think about intimacy. Like, what do you think of when you first think of intimacy? What do you think of?
I know what you're going to say.
You know what I'm going to say, because you hear me say it all the time. That. Yeah. So what I love, David Burns has a definition of intimacy that I absolutely love. And the definition of intimacy that he has is
It's going to kind of depress you a little bit.
Okay. It's not depressing, it's amazing.
It's a little depressing.
Okay.
When you think in your head what intimacy is, hi Carly. This is...
Yeah, because you think of vulnerability, you think of connecting, you think of transparency, you think of trust, right? Like, you hear people say, into me, see, like, see into me. Right? Mm-hmm. So, but David Burns' definition of intimacy is this: the willingness to endure the negative feelings you get when you get close to another person. The willingness to endure the negative feelings you get when you get close to another person. So, I love it because we have negative feelings.
Yes.
We fall out of like with our spouse a lot. Let's be honest. You fall out of like with me a lot. It's a good thing love keeps us connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we think about that we do. We fall. Go ahead. Yeah. If that's true, like if you like that, heart that.
Hi,
yeah.
Mariana.
We fall out of like. We fall out of like with our spouse.
Yeah.
You know, and that's easy to do.
Fairly often.
But intimacy is different because intimacy, I love this because I was listening to a podcast the other day. Actually, it was Tim Keller. And he was saying like that the covenant of marriage itself, like, okay, the another covenant, we have the covenant of marriage, but we also have the covenant with our kids. Mm-hmm. And we love our kids and we pour into our kids for years and never get anything in return, right? We never get anything in return. But yet we love them more and more deeply because we're forced, like, because our love for them just grows and we love them and we love them and we love them. But like, does that make sense? But
yes.
in marriage, in marriage, if we don't feel like if our negative feelings are right, if we like, we can get a divorce, we can get out of it, we can decide we don't want to do it and walk away from it. But when you choose to love somebody, love is a choice. When you choose and to press into those negative feelings, you actually grow to love that person more and more and more. I have grown to love you more with the falling out of like, the hard moments. It is those hard moments that we end up loving each other more because of. Yeah. That's my point. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. But there are, like, the negative feelings you get.
I even fought a like with myself some days. Isn't that the truth?
But you get negative feelings when you get close to another person. It's not all, in the beginning, it's not like that. Because we always show our best selves, and it's lovely and fun and light. And then they don't pick up their laundry off the floor,
or they have bad breath, or let's be honest, let's get real. Or it's this morning when I'm unloading the dishwasher, we're getting the kids ready for school, and the kitchen is a mess because we chose not to clean it last night. And I'm just making a blanket statement. Gosh, our house is a mess. Like there's food on the table from last night from supper, which that never happens in this house, but it did this morning.
Right.
And you were taking it personally.
Yes, I did.
And you were taking it personally, and you were like, and you were getting on me. You were being short with me. You were getting on me. Like, stop. Like,
because you kept emphasizing that the house was dirty, which I feel like is my job. So
I couldn't believe
it was my fault.
But I clean the kitchen all the time, so I couldn't believe what a mess we left it, and that was all I was making. But you were defending yourself. And you were getting short with me.
These are the negative feelings you get when you get close to another person.
And so I was just trying to bite my tongue and love you in it. And now I love you even more because of it.
Right.
Pay attention to those negative feelings, because those negative feelings are important. Like,
do the same thing. Yep.
I love it. Like, we're not even trying. It's in those daily moments, and that's what we talk about every day. It's in those daily moments that those things can tend to, like, it's just it's being short with each other. It's when we feel like we're being attacked by our spouse. Yeah. Those can really hurt intimate moments. And so, I get a lot of likes on that. So, yeah, you feel like you're being attacked.
Yeah.
And like, I think one of the keys here is to be willing to give into negative emotion, is to just choose to try not to defend yourself. To not defend yourself. So
it's one of the keys to the deeper spiritual life, right?
That's right. A.W. Tozer.
A.W. Tozer. Never defend yourself. It sounds
I love it.
I know, I do too. It's just a lot easier
the most
said than done.
Difficult thing on the planet to do.
Especially in close relationships,
yeah,
I think.
Because we love being right.
Yeah. I think everyone does, though.
So, the willingness to endure the negative feelings you get when you get close to another individual, that's true intimacy.
And leaning into those negative feelings.
Yeah. And leaning into them, yeah, absolutely. And trying to find out why the other person might be attacking. Yeah. That gets into a whole other conversation. But if we can really try to understand why the other person might be saying what they are, whereas this morning I'm just trying to make a blanket comment and actually have some fun with it with our family, and it didn't turn out that way because you were taking it personally. So I needed to stop, and I knew I needed to stop. So I did stop, and I just kept going to my task. So, yeah.
Bury your head and just get her done. Yep.
The second way to build, everyday way, I like this. This is a super practical one. We're talking about negative feelings. I can get into heavy stuff. Go to bed together at night. We tuck our kids into bed.
Yep.
But if we're going to bed at separate times, it kind of hurts intimacy, especially as you like. You're not laying together, you're not snuggling,
but you're not even talking about the
intimacy,
day.
That kind of thing.
Right? You're not talking about, it's like, and we used to do it, like you'd stay up working late, or I would, and so one person would go to bed, and you just like, you miss each other. And it's a real easy fix, I think, but we've found it's been really helpful. And the phones in bed are... Yeah,
taking away the phones in bed.
That's been a
like getting
big
in
one.
bed and just laying in bed and being together at night, like literally just like you would if you're tucking your kids in, tucking each other in kind of thing.
You want to tuck me in?
That's right, baby.
That'd be so sweet.
Because you know what that leads to? That leads to the physical intimacy, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
No, I know.
That's right.
Most of the time. Some of the time.
See?
Depends on the day.
The next one, look at that. We're getting a ton of likes on that one. That's right, baby. the physical intimacy.
Oh, Brittany says someone whose husband works nights, not going to bother is so hard.
That is hard. Hey, Brittany, thanks for sharing that, actually. Because
That
that's a
is
good
so
point.
hard.
That leads to the next point, though. I think for Brittany, I think this next point, one of the things that we tend to do
notes. This is hilarious.
paying attention to disconnection. Like, you know if you're close with your spouse or not. Like, you know right now whether or not you're close with your spouse. And I think you know right now where you could rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. You know, I feel like you and I are doing very well right now. You know, I feel like we're up probably around an 8 or a 9 or something right now. I feel like we're really connected, but we've been intentional about connecting lately. But
it ebbs and flows like by days and
I think
by the week.
I think the key is paying attention to that disconnection, because for us, I know for me, when I'm not feeling connected, or I feel like it might be where, Brittany, in a similar instance, it might be that I have left in the morning to go to work before Christy's ever even out of bed, and I'm not getting home until it's dinner time.
Yeah.
And she's been with the kids all day. And
those are hard days.
And especially if I'm in meetings all day and I haven't had very much time to connect with you throughout that day.
Yeah.
We haven't connected very much at all. To come home, if you're frustrated, or you've had a long, hard day, and I'm talking about my day and how exciting it was, I can feel a disconnect right there, and I have to press into you. I have to. You can feel it. So I just pay attention to when you're feeling disconnected, because those are, and find ways and talk to each other about ways that you can reconnect.
But I think it's just like what you're saying. It's just that awareness. It's paying attention to it, because it's really easy to become focused on work and kids and just the dailiness, like that top surface layer of life, right? Like just all the to-dos, that this just goes, it just slips by. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it can slip by for a long time, like a year, 2 years, 5 years.
One of the other things too, I was looking at this earlier, and I teach on this quite a bit when I do marriage stuff, but I just think it's important. In Ephesians 5, we talk about Ephesians 5 a lot as the marriage chapter, the marriage chapter, where it talks about wives and husbands, and the wife submitting to the husband, and the husband, which I think is a greater even submission. And that is laying down our lives for our spouses. But in Ephesians, Paul is writing, and even though the sections are broken up, I mean, the actual original text isn't broken up. So right before that marriage passage, Paul is writing, "Be careful then how you live, not as unwise people, but as wise, making the most of the time." Making the most of the time. And then right after that, he says, "But be filled by the Spirit, speaking to one another in psalms, hymns, spiritual songs, singing, giving thanks for everything." So he's saying, pay attention to the time and be filled with the Spirit. What I love about that passage is it's right before the marital passage, and he's saying, be filled with the Spirit in how you interact with each other, in redeeming that time. And so, 2 key thoughts on that is being
You really studied, by the way.
Sweetie, I studied tonight. Okay, so, but I get excited about this because I love this, because when you're filled with the Spirit, like when you are living in the Spirit and you're walking in the Spirit and you're doing you're walking with the Lord, and you feel you've got intimacy with the Lord, out of that flows the ability to be able to receive criticism from your spouse without feeling like you're being crushed, because you know whose you are, you're walking with the Lord, and then in the reverse of that, you're able to give feedback without crushing the other person. Yeah. You know?
Well, I think it just comes back to that, like, that stillness of spirit, right? When we spend time with the Lord, like, it allows us, it gives us that solid ground again, like that foundation from which all of us, are able to interact with the world, really. And without that, we're emotions, comments, stress just pushes us around.
And the thing that I think of is our interview with Eric and Kay Geiger. And if you're just joining us, we did a podcast. We launched our podcast this week, and our interview with Eric and Kay. Check that out. We'll post it in the comments after the video posts. But
they're funny.
One thing that Eric really honed in on was creating a culture in their home, and he was talking about it in relation to parenting. But what I loved about it is his ability to, we talked about it in the sense of, you don't have to feel guilty like you're constantly, like we're not doing a devotional every night as a couple.
Right.
Or we're not, doing devos with our kids every single day.
I've never done one. Have we?
I don't know. It's a
But
good
like
question.
I don't know if we have.
Because
Like
our
a
intimacy,
formal-
like a formal sitting down, doing a devotional. We've read books together early
Yeah.
on in our marriage. There was books that we went through together.
Yeah.
I don't know we've ever really done a devotional.
Yeah.
But our spiritual time
But
is different.
not feeling guilty about that.
Yeah, but it's creating a culture. It's creating a culture
Yeah.
around your relationship and in your home of that sense, that spirit of
Excited
peace.
about the podcast.
So
Aaron, Sarah, I'm so glad you're excited. We're excited too. Sorry, I'm
it is fun.
interrupting you.
Yeah.
We love the podcast though because I mean you're busy and you can just listen. Like I listen while I make dinner almost most nights actually.
You do.
Or if I'm like driving
You do a great
and
job.
taking the kids to
I listen to them when I work
and
out.
fro.
It's good.
Yeah. Anyway, we're so excited about it.
We one of the things I just saw a comment go in there, critique or criticism, as I was talking about the Holy Spirit and just having that spirit, like critiquing or criticizing. And I think a critique or a criticism isn't dependent upon the person giving it. I think it's dependent upon the person receiving it.
Now, sometimes it is, obviously by tone of voice, like the intent,
True.
right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
A not teachable person would have a great difficulty taking a critique.
A critique, yeah.
It'll
Constructive
always be a
critique, yeah.
criticism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. I think we have to, like, that goes back to our culture of our home.
Yeah.
Like it goes back to the culture of our marriage and making sure that we're, paying attention to when we're disconnected or also pressing into those negative feelings. Because those negative feelings are always coming out of something else.
Yeah.
Anger, a lot of times, is because the person feels hurt or rejected or that kind of thing. And getting into that is really important.
Can I do like one thing that I took away from the podcast that's not on your list?
What? Do it.
Okay, this is real practical. Okay. They have their kids go to bed early, and they've trained them since they were little to stay in bed. I know that sounds so simple.
7:30?
Yeah. And they're older. And they can read for a little bit, but they cannot get out of bed. Because it allows time, because there's no other time in the day for you and your spouse. I was like, why don't we do that? Like, we do that.
We do that. We actually really do that.
But to really set that expectation
really
for
do.
your kids, like, you don't come out.
Yeah.
This is our time.
And for Brittany,
was great.
I'm thinking of Brittany, whose husband's working at night, like finding other ways that
Yeah.
you can find time to be with your husband, like
Lunch dates,
and,
I don't know.
and
That's a
putting
tough
and putting
one.
the kids, or just having the kids, read together or do something together apart from.
We sometimes put a movie on and close the playroom doors.
Even though, yeah, it's usually Daniel Tiger, but
Yeah.
it works.
Great.
30-minute Daniel Tiger episode, and
Yeah, exactly.
connect. Because sometimes you need to.
Nap time dates.
Nap time dates
Yeah.
are always great. Absolutely. Hey, I got another one on here. Talking about spiritual things and what God's doing in your
Oh,
life.
can I talk about this one?
You do it.
Okay.
Because
This
God's
one-
doing a lot more work on you than he is me.
Yeah.
He has a lot more work to do
Can
than
I,
you, I think.
guys?
You missed. You didn't hear me.
Wait, what?
I said he has a lot more work to do in you than he does me, but...
Okay, so can I just I'm just saying this book because I am I'm
Okay,
just
just
amazed.
show it.
Okay, it's gonna be backwards because it's Facebook, but it's called Nothing to Prove by Jenny Allen. Like, it's literally rocking my world. I don't even know what to say, but just
Okay, but you're speaking to this point,
read the
speaking
book.
about
Yes.
spiritual things in a
But
marriage.
because of that, it's doing things in me. Like, it's stirring up things in me and knocking things off of me and just totally... I tried to, hold it together today reading it because I was in public and it would be really embarrassing to, totally lose it. So I was really trying to hold it together. But it's, impacting me that much. So when I got home, I told Josh, it was just so healthy and so good for me that we found to just download on one another what the Lord is teaching us. And that's been...
And one of the cool parts about that, so
Cool.
speaking about books, one of the books we just recently went through in a lot of ways together, we didn't specifically have set times that we read it together, but we read sort of another book called The Road Back to You, and it's on the Enneagram.
Is it out here?
We don't have it out
So
here.
good.
But that has been a huge book for us. Anybody familiar with the Enneagram? If you are, comment, tell us what type you are, if you so dare. We love...
You won't know what that means if you haven't read it, but if you have, you'll know what that means.
It is one of the most impactful books that I've read
Yeah.
for my own spiritual health and
Yeah.
journey and discovering who I am.
But
last
just
one
sharing that with one another has been super
Last
cool.
one?
Yes, okay.
before we head out.
That's can be you. Go for it.
Can I do that one?
Yeah. Go for it.
Have sex. I mean, I just am saying, like, for intimacy.
It literally says that on the paper.
It
Number
literally
5.
says that.
Yeah.
I'm saying that from the standpoint of we're really getting, like, no, it's important. Like, it is the...
I'm laughing.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yep.
And we're not going to get into if you're having issues with, just sexual intimacy. Like, there's a whole bunch of that can go so much deeper and all that kind of thing. But if your relationship, if you're healthy in your relationship, certainly don't do it out of obligation or guilt or making the other person feel like they should be doing it when they don't feel like they, that's painful, and that's not what we're talking about. But what we are talking about is both mutually enjoying the act of marriage together, because what it does is it's the physical representation of what you've done with your entire life, and that's giving your life to that other person, and it's just beautiful. Yes. It's awesome. So
I agree.
Do it.
I agree.
Do it. Just do it. Hey, you all. We love hanging out with you guys tonight. Comment what you're doing for Valentine's Day. Comment what you do to build intimacy each day in your marriage. Like, if we didn't cover something, I mean, we obviously didn't cover everything, but if there's a way you guys connect in your marriage every day, please let us know. And
let us know what you thought of the podcast too. What you took from that.
Please do that. And write a review on iTunes. If you listen to it, write a review.
That'd be nice.
We need a lot of reviews because that helps populate it in iTunes. So, all right. You guys have a great night.
Bye.